welcome everyone to this edition of Talented Universe. I am hoping that we are live. There was another show that was going on and they did not get off when they were supposed to. So, yep, we are having trouble streaming to Facebook. That is probably why. But I think we are there on YouTube. So, YouTube, hopefully you're there. So, let me go to my co-host, Marcia. Marcia, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a good evening here in Florida. The beginning of baseball season, which has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about, but I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Okay, and Marcia, do you want to introduce our guest tonight?
Sure. I am thrilled to be able to introduce to you CJ Walker, who is a multi-talented actor, model, ceramicist, so much more. And we're going to talk to her about all things in her career, hopes, aspires, and background. So let's get to it.
Thank you so much, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're really happy to have you. We've done quite a few in the vertical drama field, and so this is a continuing effort. Michael, do you want to start or?
No, you can start. You can start. I'm dealing with the other
technical issues. Okay.
Well, so I'll let you get started.
Let's look at first. You are coming to us from Australia.
I am Sydney, Australia.
And is that where you were born and raised?
Yeah. Yeah, so I was born and raised Sydney, and I am very, very lucky and grateful that it's such a brilliant place to live and be, and I get to see the Harbour Bridge every day, and I get to be in such a wonderful place with brilliant people, and then I get to connect with other brilliant people like yourselves.
Well, thank you for that. I know most people want to hear about your some of your current projects, which include vertical dramas.
They do indeed.
And which to a lot of people is still new. To me, it was new. I only started looking into it when we started talking about doing some interviews. So how did you find out about vertical drama?
So I actually found out about verticals purely by chance. It was a pop-up ad on a platform that I had already been subscribed to. And I wasn't doing anything for the month and decided, this seems cool enough. I checked it out. It was a legitimate publication. And obviously it's very important, especially now, to be double checking, to make sure everything is legit, to make sure you're not walking into something that you can't walk out of. And obviously that was not the case. And I met some incredible people like Dan, who you've already interviewed. And that was my first vertical back in, September maybe?
September
last year. Yeah.
September last year, yeah, still very fresh.
And what was your first vertical drama that you participated in?
So my first vertical was called Accelerating Love, and I was supporting cast on that. And then I went on to do Heiress Blacklisted Her Husband as Becky Slade, who most people will know me as because it pops up as a TikTok, Instagram ad, and I do get that sent to me quite regularly.
She was not a nice person, if I remember right.
No, but I had lots of fun playing a villain. It was brilliant. The whole team was incredible, and I'm very, very lucky for that production. And then I went on to a vertical that filmed in Melbourne. That was a whirlwind of chaos, but the end product was something that most people have really enjoyed watching for the drama and the hype of it all. And that has a very clickbaity title. That's, I believe it's My Daddy's Best Friend Made Me His Billionaire Wife, which has its own clickbaity titles. And I have since gone on to film in China, and I am in the process of being further abroad this time.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you allowed to say where it might be, or is that?
It's a little. It's a couple of projects. So I will be traveling a little further in the coming.
Are you excited about that?
I am thrilled. It's an incredible opportunity, and I'm very grateful for it.
Well, I think you have just answered this question that Justin had. CJ, what's your favorite role you've played?
My favorite role
that you can talk about.
It would have to be Becky Slade. She
Yes.
was the stunts that I got to do, the falling on the ground, the slaps. I get slapped about 4 times throughout the series. And to do that with just again and again got ridiculously funny. The director, Sky, was a wonderful help to direct through the process of every stunt. And we got, for those of you who've seen it, there's a bathroom scene where there is an injury that occurs, and it's a fake injury that wasn't done to me, that I got to do to myself. And the process of that, we had to spend about half an afternoon blocking through to make sure that not only it looked good to cameras, but that it was actually safe for me to perform.
That's a lot of prep.
Yes, yeah. But I actually come from a stunting background. My first role in not a vertical, in a horizontal, was actually as a body double. And so to be able to come to it with experience of being able to crash on the floor and break through fake glass and XYZ, yeah, it's something not a lot of female actors can say that they can do. It's not something that's taught. It's something you just have to experience. So I'm very grateful.
What did they tell you about the role of Becky before you started? How did
I did not get a lot of information about her until I got my script and I'd signed my contract, which is very standard. And we were at a table read for it, I believe. And the director and I just ran through her scenes and decided the direction we were going to go in for her, and blocked through what we thought my tones would be. And then we got to actual production, and we got to shooting, and we'd tweak things for the scenes as needed. And it was a blessing to watch her flourish, really. Every time I stepped into hair and makeup, I got a little bit more sassy, and then I was in costume, and suddenly she's here. And yeah, it was very fun.
She wore a lot of pink, I know.
She did. She did. There's a short pink dress that has like a wave thing on it that I spilt the wine on.
Yes.
Much fun was had in that dress.
And Justin has another comment. He says, "I love CJ's hair." I just thought that was appropriate for what you were just talking about.
Yes, there's a lot to work with.
Oh my goodness. They had it tied up a lot.
Yeah. The Kim Audrey was my makeup artist, and she did most of my hair with her assistant Joyce. Honest to God, Joy was so lovely. She held my hand the whole time, and Kim would sit there, just every curl to perfection.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you were in hair and makeup, how long were you in hair and makeup?
I was in average for that project. Hair and makeup was about an hour for me, which is incredibly quick given what was required, and a testament to the professionalism on set. But I have also been in hair and makeup for other projects. Girl Alien is a film on YouTube, and it's a short, and I was in hair and makeup for about 3 to 4 hours every time because I had to be painted green, and that
was my next. You had to be green.
I had to be green, and I had a wig in still, and to do that, I had to have all of my hair put up and pinned, and then I had to have the wig put on, and then that had to be pinned in place. But Girl Alien was also an incredible role. It follows this girl alien, Delta, who is like a university student that's come from space, and she battles with adversity from the humans. And yeah, it's a fun little 10-minute watch. So I'm very happy with it.
That is
How
good.
can that be viewed? Is it on YouTube or where?
Yes, yeah, I believe it's on YouTube.
Okay.
So yeah,
we'll have to do a hunt for it.
Right.
Yeah, I'll put a post up on my Instagram, so make sure you go follow that.
That would be great. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And her Instagram account is right below there, everyone. So you can go and say, yes, I want to follow her. Like you hopefully are going to follow us on Facebook and YouTube and even Instagram. Instagram, at least you'll get what's coming up soon. So, which is nice. Now, CJ, you had told us before we went on air that you kind of started the acting / modeling about a year ago.
About a year ago, yeah.
So what were you doing before that?
Before that, I had no interest in the acting or the modeling side of it. I was still in school. I was playing netball, which is a big sport in Australia. That was consuming my life, and I was actually working as a medical receptionist while I was studying at uni. And I'm still studying at uni, and I'm still a medical receptionist. But I am also now a talented actor. I get to say that.
Yeah, that's cool. And you also said you kind of had another love that you have an example.
Ceramics?
Yes.
Yes, ceramics is my tactile, just everything. So I started that during school as just something to do to keep my hands busy. And suddenly I was producing works that people wanted to see. So I actually exhibited my HSC work in March of last year, I believe it was. And that was in a gallery in Willoughby, which is a suburb in Sydney, for those of you who are coming from Australia. And that did really, really well. And then I might have an exhibit at the end of the year that is also kicking off. So it's phenomenal to be able to be so creative in so many different ways. And for anyone who is listening at home who struggles with picking what they want, I want to let you know that you don't have to pick. You can pursue multiple things.
You just have to be good with time management.
Yes. And I can say that I didn't think I was, and suddenly everyone was like, how do you have time to do all of this? And I'm like, I don't know the answer to that. But what I got told, and something that I have continued to take with me through my life, is that if you think of everything like balls in the air, and that's often a common metaphor, some of them will be plastic and some of them will be glass. And it is okay to drop the balls. You just have to know which ones you can pick back up. Don't drop the glass ones. They're your priority.
No, they don't do that.
But you can drop the plastic ones and everything will be okay. They're just on the floor. You just have to pick them back up.
And start working with them again. Yeah.
Exactly.
We were talking about the giant teacup that you have. Is that a particular significance, or is
I actually got this as a gift from my mother because it has a butterfly on it. I'm not sure if you can see.
Yes, we see it. Yes.
And when I was a little girl, I would refuse to leave the house unless I was wearing a butterfly. So it had to be on my shoes, or a clip in my hair, or on my shirt, or a sparkly little necklace. And currently, I actually have a ring with a butterfly on it that I got for a recent birthday. So I wear that at the moment. And yeah, it's something that's just a little reminder.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you worked in ceramics with making butterflies as well, or have you?
I do a lot of organic shapes and designs at the moment. A lot of it is very coral based. It looks very of the earth, is what people usually like to tell me. I haven't tried. I've done a few little bee inspirations. Juz Kitson is a phenomenal artist, and she was actually one of the ones who inspired me to start doing ceramics in the way that I do it, in the organic style, with just whatever comes and whatever flows. And her work often features little animals or symbols of animals, so like antler horns or XYZ. So yeah, it's definitely something that I will continue to pursue and to grow with. But yeah, for now,
See where it takes you.
Definitely, yeah. I did a series of teacups that were inspired by absurdism. So there were teacups that you couldn't put tea through. So there were holes, or my best one was one that had little anemone tentacles coming out right from the bottom and flourishing through it. And I had one that had purposeful cracks through it. And yeah. Mixed media.
Next time we're going to have to see some of her work next time, Michael.
Mm-hmm,
You have
I
to
think
bring
so.
her back and see some.
You know it.
Now, when you're not doing ceramics, when you're not prepping to be in a movie or
Yes.
vertical or getting ready to do a modeling job, what do you do?
What do I do? Well, aside
when you
from
have
being
totally free time.
when I have totally free time, when I'm not an early educator, when I'm not a medical receptionist, I am a big sister. I'm a little sister. I am an avid reader, and I am just someone who exists.
Didn't I read something about first aid kits or something that you taught yourself first aid?
Yeah, so I am actually a recipient of the Gold Duke of Edinburgh Award, which is a pretty high-level award to have in Australia, and it's the highest of the three. So there's bronze, silver, and gold. And I worked all the way up to gold, which requires 12 months of service skill and support, service skill, an adventurous hike, and preparation. I believe I'm missing something else as well, but it's been a while. It's been a year. How fast?
Long time.
But for that, I actually did learn first aid, and that's been such a blessing to have in both just general knowledge and also as an early educator, because little kids get bumps and cuts and scrapes, and you want to make sure everyone's okay. And so I taught myself first aid, and I got a certificate in it, and I am certified for CPR, and it is really good knowledge to have.
So we're really talking to a very eclectic person.
Yes, we are.
Yes. I do like that word. I like when I get to be described as such. I'm also a candle maker. I am an avid photographer. I do like natural light and taking photos of the world. And
what don't you do?
I was going to say, are we talking to one person or like three?
Well, I don't spell very well. I'm dyslexic. Yeah. But I love it. I love reading. I love writing. My sister creates her own poetry, and I love reading that. And yeah.
Speaking more of family,
yes.
what have they thought with all these pursuits that you've been doing?
Gosh, so I actually did not tell my family I was an actor for about 6.5 months while I was working as an actor.
Goodness.
Which was at first just a slip of the tongue. I didn't want to mention stuff without it being a bit more professional. And I didn't want to get their hopes up. And obviously it's a very hard industry to be in long term. But when I was landing gigs 2-3 times a month, and I was on these bigger projects and I was leading projects, it got very hard to not be excited and want to tell people about it and tell my family about my day at the dinner table. Because obviously, because I do so much, I can leave certain things out. And at the time, if I was a couple of hours late to dinner, or if I was coming home or leaving a bit early in the morning, no one noticed that because I was so busy doing everything else. And so for a while, it was just acting was my little thing. And I really, really enjoyed that time. But it got to a point where I did want to tell people about it. And so I sat my family down and I told them, and I got to show all the photos that I'd been doing and all the BTS that may or may not make its way onto my Instagram.
Now they didn't. So you broke the news. They didn't happen to see something.
Well, my sister was the first I broke the news to because her friends actually saw the Becky TikToks.
Oh,
and it was like, isn't this your sister?
no, of course not. That's not my. Ooh,
No.
like her.
Yeah. So my high school, there are a couple of girls there that are very, very proud of me, and I'm so blessed to be able to be a part of that community who does still support me, even being out of school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is true. That is interesting. I don't think I could have kept that a secret for that long. I just don't.
So now that your fame is growing, have you started to sign autographs yet?
So I remember the first time I was paparazzi'd. It was across the Harbour Bridge, and I had a little gaggle of photographers just start taking photos, and that was its own experience. But the first time I got asked for a signature was by a girl who had watched one of my series that aired in the UK, and her family was from the UK, and she'd seen it on holidays there. She'd come back to Australia so excited that I was the actor from the series, and she was such a teenager, typical fangirl, and I loved that. I loved that experience, and I do look forward to those interactions with the fans. It does really mean a lot to me.
Does she run your fan group site?
I don't think so. She's still in high school, I believe, at the time that I met her. So I don't think she's pursuing any social media managing positions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
That is cool. That is cool.
Yeah. Well, when Michael told me who we were going to interview, I looked at your name, and I don't know if you realized that your name is also you know what I'm going to say.
I do actually. Yeah, CJ Walker is a phenomenal activist.
Yes.
And when I was just starting in my career, I wanted something that wasn't immediately going to be my name. Because I still wasn't sure if this is what I wanted to pursue. I didn't take drama as a kid. I wasn't in any acting sort of stereotypical starting points. And so I took my initials, which are the C and the J is from my first and my middle name, and Walker is my last name. And I generated CJ, and from that point on, I have been CJ. But with a couple of the upcoming projects that are not verticals, that I can't deliver too many details upon, there is potential for a name change, because now that I have the courage that the activist has instilled in me, it's time that I start building my own version of my name.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. It's so exciting to be with someone on sort of the beginning of your career in a way. You've done a lot already, and we see so much more that's happening right now and in the future. And it's exciting for us to be able to be on that journey with you. And I'm kind of interested, an Australian accent is it's a very distinct one. So I was wondering, and I noticed that sometimes do you use other accents, like an American accent or?
For verticals, I have been using American, and you can hear it. Becky was an interesting role because that was the first time I was leading a bigger role. And needed to really sustain it. And there's a few episodes where my can'ts and can'ts are really obvious. And so the first time I saw the ad, it popped up, and I just cringe in embarrassment because I don't have training. I come to set ready to learn and to instill what other people have learned in me. But mistakes are made, and sometimes they make it through. And they don't get caught, and sometimes that's okay.
I mean, we Marcia and I have done other actors that use accents, and a couple of them, I had no idea they weren't using their native accents, and then we had them on the show, and it was like, huh?
Mind blowing, yeah. To some extent, my Australian is not that apparent until I start to say certain words and my O's are different and my A's are different.
Right.
But for the most part, people just hear it as English because it doesn't have that Aussie twang that most people will associate with Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So it has been really interesting, especially when I'm shooting in countries that aren't Australia. They have to double take because I've been asked if I'm Scandinavian or Russian or have heritage further up
North.
the globe. And I don't. I'm fully Australian and I take that with me with so much pride. Yeah.
Have you done a DNA thing on your heritage or?
I haven't myself, but my grandfather on my dad's side, he took a few years to really investigate our bloodline. And I'm actually the first girl in 4 generations on my dad's side.
Oh, wow.
And through both of my parents, we're 10 plus generations of Australian.
Oh, that's a
you
long.
can track that through the blood, which is a long time.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. I'm a convict born and bred. What can I say?
There you go. Mm-hmm.
I'll steal your heart and I won't apologize for it.
So is that why you were very good at these mean girl roles?
Oh, Becky was such an interesting character because she was so far from what I think I've ever thought of being like. And so I really got to just amp up. And as you guys would probably now know, vertical actors, we're in on the game. We know we're overplaying. And a lot of us are very talented actors who can perform subtlety.
Mm-hmm.
But these roles require so much bravado and so much over the top to keep that fast-paced attention to the content. And so
people will look at the next minute.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And continue to pay the platforms that the project's on. And so, yeah, to be super snarky and to be super, not necessarily cunning, because Becky was very, very obvious to the entire storyline and everybody knew. But there are some subtleties in her relationships with her mother Fiona and with the other characters as well. And so it was in those moments that I got to really see what I could do to push those characters.
Do you remember what the first vertical that you saw? Do you remember which one it was?
Gosh. I don't actually. I think it would have just been vaguely across as an advert, and the vertical adverts are like 15 minutes long. They can get ridiculously lengthy to try and show you the best moments to keep you engaged on the line. And you can, in the same way that you can almost see the full story, you then are so enticed you go and watch the full story, which ends up being an hour long.
So did you watch that? Did you watch it because you were going to do it, or did you know of them before?
I watched it as just something to consume. I have always loved watching the Hallmark movies.
There
and
you go.
It's a very similar avenue in the sense that it's a cliche story. I watched all of the adaptions of Cinderella. I watch, like, you see all the Beauty and the Beast remakes, and that's something that I'm so excited for the vertical world to start pursuing, because the Beauty and the Beast tales have been taken to a point where they are so dark and so thrilling and so like gory now. And for a vertical to go and do that would be avant-garde. It would be the first of its kind. And they're slowly building into more and more genres that will attract a bigger audience in age groups and in gender and in race. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, let's see what happens, because as I said, I stumbled across it probably just right before I contacted Dan. And it was like I did not know these things existed. And then I saw how big it was, and I just went, how did I miss this? But I stumbled across it on Instagram. So
yeah. And for a lot of people, it won't be their cup of tea. but for a wide variety of people, it is, because they get to see an escapism to what is a simply built world. And I study a communications degree, so I look at world building a lot, and I look at communication and differentiation in representation and in that sort of field. But it's a simple world where good will prevail over evil, and a lot of people really love those stories. It touches something in them, and it guides their moral compass. And to see that the girl who is treating someone else really poorly in high school doesn't eventuate. It's the girl who looks after herself, looks after her friends, and pursues what she wants to do. She's the one that gets the guy or gets the riches, or at the end of the day is successful.
And usually you have a 50% chance of being an heir or an heiress if you were adopted, if you look at some of these stories.
Shocking percentage. And the amount of hidden and all of the work that the CEOs don't do is quite shocking, and all of the contracts that get missigned, and all of the identities that are just hidden.
One of my favorite moments from the Heiress Blacklisted My Husband was when you were being forced the heroine to sign the divorce papers. Or it wasn't her, it was a mother who said, here, sign the divorce papers. And I was like, is that easy for where did she get those papers from?
Where do the papers come from?
It was hilarious.
Who's been writing them?
It was
it's the movie magic. Contracts just pop up and Yuri just suddenly disappears, and it is quite
so you sort of leave your brain at the door in a way, but you kind of let it go, let it take you where it wants you to go.
Definitely. Step away from reality, step away from the tragedies that might be in your life, and experience something.
For a few minutes.
For a couple of high intensity fight scenes. For sure.
And I did also. Have you ever been to the United States? Or
no, I haven't. And it's definitely somewhere on my to-go list. You have a beautiful country with lots to offer, and lots of different kinds of people. So I'm still young. It's still very early days.
Eventually, as your circle of travel widens and widens, you'll end up here. I'm sure.
I'm hoping so. I've had a few offers of come over and we'll show you the world, and so it would be nice to be able to come over and to meet some really talented co-stars that live there, and catch up with people who do really believe in what I'm doing.
Well, out there in cyberspace, if you're watching live, we're going to be closing down in a few minutes. So if you do have a question for CJ, please put it in the chat room right now so we can get to it before we go off air. And then we go, oh, look, here it comes through now and we're off air. But CJ, is there anything else you wanted to bring out, make an announcement, tell us we're crazy, which we know anyway, but just have it reaffirmed or whatever?
I would firstly like to thank you guys so much for having me, and thank you to cyberspace for being here for me. I have a couple of verticals coming out in the coming months, and I have a couple of other projects that are approaching, and so to keep an eye out, because we're all working, and me more so.
Yes, and make sure you get on her Instagram so you know what's coming. So
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then here's our NDB Media and our Talented Universe link, so you can get in there and make sure you don't miss anything that is coming out. Because we have, I'm trying to schedule 4 more vertical drama actors. So I'm just in negotiations with time and a couple others from Australia. So that's the tough ones. It's the time difference. So But
We're the best ones to do.
Yeah. Oh, they're so generous and so nice. But so everyone, on behalf of Marcia and myself and CJ, thank you for coming, and we hope to see you next time. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.